Take that pretty clear. Oh, brilliant.
She played sick and still won. Coco Gauff is built different. Let me tell you something about champions. Real ones. Not the kind who show up when everything is perfect, the lights are bright, the crowd is loud, the body feels fresh, and the conditions are just right. No, real champions are the ones who show up when nothing is working.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see myself getting involved in other things. I never wanted to be solely focused on tennis. That was never a goal of mine. Even when I was little, I mean, tennis is great, but I never wanted to make it.
When the body is screaming stop, when the mind is begging for a day off, when every single cell in their being is telling them to walk away. That's where the separation happens. That's where legends are made. And right here, right now, at the Madrid Open, Coco Gauff is giving the entire tennis world a masterclass in exactly what it means to be the real deal. Coco Gauff walked onto that court today in the round of 16 at the Madrid Open, and she was not feeling 100%. Let's just be clear about that from the jump. This was not a case of a slight headache or being a little tired from travel. Gauff was dealing with what has apparently been making its rounds through the entire draw in Madrid, some kind of illness that has been hitting players left and right throughout the tournament. And if you know anything about being sick while trying to compete at the highest level of professional sports, you know that is no joke. Your legs feel heavy. Your breathing is off. Your concentration dips. Every movement requires twice the effort. The mental fatigue alone is enough to break most people. And yet, Coco Gauff stepped across that baseline, looked her opponent dead in the eye, and found a way to get the job done. When the match was over and a reporter walked up to her with a microphone, they said something that was both a question and a compliment wrapped in one. They told her straight up, "I know you're not feeling 100%, but champions find a way, and that's exactly what you did today. Tell us how you were able to do that." And what Coco said in response is the kind of thing that you print out and stick on your wall. She said, "Honestly, I was just trying to finish the match and one point turned into another. I think I got what everybody else is having here in Madrid, unfortunately. Just gonna try to push through for tomorrow. That's it. No dramatic speech. No long inspirational monologue."
How are you feeling and how did you get that done? Because it looked worrying at times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I got it done. Just dealing with a lot of trying to keep my food down, but once I threw up and I was able to throw up again after the first set and then throw up again, I felt a little better. I don't know, it was just a tough.
Just the quiet, understated confidence of someone who has been built for exactly these moments. Now pause for a second and really absorb what she just said. She wasn't thinking about the trophy. She wasn't thinking about rankings or headlines or legacy. She was thinking one point at a time. One point turned into another. That is the mental framework of a true elite competitor. When everything around you is falling apart, you don't try to solve the whole problem at once. You shrink the world down to just the next ball, just the next point, and then you do it again and again until somehow, impossibly, you look up and the match is over and you've won. That is exactly what Coco Gauff did today on the clay courts of Madrid. And if you are sleeping on this woman's greatness, now is the time to wake up. Gauff has always been a player who carries herself with a kind of poise that seems well beyond her years. She burst onto the scene as a teenager who reached the fourth round of Wimbledon at just 15 years old. And from that moment, the entire tennis world has been watching and waiting to see just how good she could become. The answer, as she has proven time and time again, is very, very good. Her 2023 US Open title was a statement to the world that she had arrived not just as a promising young talent, but as a genuine Grand Slam champion.
felt like it did something that was...
And everything she has done since has only reinforced that message. But today's performance in Madrid adds something different to the story. Because winning when you're healthy is expected of champions. Winning when you're sick, when your body is working against you, when just being upright on a tennis court feels like an achievement in itself. That tells you something deeper about who this person really is. And here's the thing about Madrid specifically. This is not an easy place to compete, even when you're at full strength. The altitude at the Caja Magica is notoriously tricky for players. The air is thinner up there, and that has a real impact on how the ball travels, on how your lungs feel after long rallies, on how quickly fatigue sets in. Players who come to Madrid fresh and fully prepared still find themselves struggling to adapt. So add an illness on top of that altitude factor, and you start to realize that what Gauff pulled off today is even more remarkable than the scoreline might suggest. She was essentially fighting on two fronts simultaneously, battling her opponent across the net and battling whatever bug has been doing the rounds through the locker room. And she won both fights. Now let's talk about what this victory means in the bigger picture of Coco Gauff's 2025 clay season, because context matters here. Roland Garros is looming on the horizon, and every result between now and Paris carries weight. The French Open is the biggest clay court prize in the game, and for Gauff, who already has that US Open title on her resume, adding a Roland Garros trophy would cement her status as one of the all-time greats of her generation. The clay swing results act as a roadmap. They tell you who is finding their form, who is building momentum, and who is going to show up in Paris ready to make a deep run. By pushing through illness and grinding out this round of 16 win in Madrid, Gauff is sending a clear signal.
Oh, and talking of doubles, Sorana Castella is a doubles champion here in Madrid.
No, she is not coasting. She is not taking the week off to manage expectations. She is competing, fighting, and clawing her way through every single match. The women's tour right now is in a fascinating place. There is genuine depth across the top of the rankings, and no single player is dominating in the way that made certain eras feel almost inevitable. What that means is that on any given week, on any given surface, the door is open for multiple players to make statements and seize momentum. Gauff's performance today is exactly the kind of statement that gets noticed by everyone else in the draw. When your competitors see you grinding through a win while under the weather, the psychological message that sends is enormous.
Honestly, I didn't have any of those visions till last night. And, I thought about it, but I told myself, get it out of my head. Because that's what I did at French. I was envisioning, what would happen if I would win. And I think I was wanting it too much.
It says this woman does not go away. It says pushing her to the limit is not enough. It says if you want to beat Coco Gauff, you're going to have to be at your absolute best, because even her worst days look like this. There is also something worth noting about the specific language Gauff chose when she spoke to that reporter. She said just going to try to push through for tomorrow. Not I hope I feel better. Not if I recover in time. Push through. She is already looking ahead, already preparing for the next battle, already mentally locked in on what comes next. That forward-looking determination is a hallmark of the great champions in this sport. It's what separated Serena Williams from her peers throughout her career. It's what made Rafa Nadal almost mythically unbeatable on clay. The refusal to stop, the refusal to make excuses, the absolute insistence on showing up and competing regardless of circumstance. Gauff has that quality. You can see it in how she talks. You can feel it in how she plays. It's also worth acknowledging the reporters' framing in that post-match exchange because they got it exactly right. Champions find a way. That phrase sounds simple, but it contains a whole philosophy of competition inside it. It's not about being the most talented. It's not about having the best conditions. It's not about everything going smoothly. It's about finding a way when there is no obvious way. When the path is blocked, the champion finds another path.
I've took a few days off after Indian Wells to, work through everything. And, honestly, I've been practicing fine. It, comes and goes, but I definitely think it's getting better, as time passes. And, I just hope that it stays on that pathway once the tournament starts.
When the body fails, the champion leans on the mind. When the mind wavers, the champion falls back on habit, on training, on the thousands of hours of work done in practice when nobody was watching. That's what we saw from Gauff today. Every hour she's ever spent on a practice court, every drill, every long session, every tough loss that taught her something. All of it poured out onto the clay in Madrid while her body was fighting an illness and her spirit refused to let her quit. The Madrid Open crowd, which can be electric and deeply knowledgeable about tennis, will have appreciated what they witnessed today. Spanish fans understand grit. They live it through Rafa Nadal's entire career, through decades of watching their champions overcome the odds with pure desire and will. And when a player from outside Spain shows that same kind of spirit on these courts, they recognize it and they respond to it. Gauff would have had that crowd in her corner today not just because she's a fan favorite globally, but because she showed them something real, something human and relatable and deeply admirable. She showed them a champion refusing to fold. Let's also talk about the competitive field remaining in this Madrid Open draw, because Gauff is not through yet and the difficulty only increases from here. The quarterfinals and beyond will feature the best players on tour and the margin for error shrinks dramatically. Players who are fully healthy and firing on all cylinders. Players who have been building through the week and are finding their rhythm. Gauff is going to have to recover overnight, try to get whatever rest she can, manage her illness as best as possible, and then come back out and do it all over again. That is a genuinely tough ask. But based on everything we saw today, based on the mentality she displayed, and the fighting spirit that carries her through when the body gives out, you would be foolish to count her out of anything. The women's Madrid draw has had its share of twists and turns already, and the latter stages promise to deliver the kind of high-intensity, high-drama tennis that makes this one of the most beloved tournaments on the entire calendar. And right in the thick of it, still standing, still competing, still finding a way, is Coco Gauff. Sick and dangerous, under the weather, and absolutely lethal. Exactly the kind of player you never, ever want to face when the stakes are high and the moment demands everything you've got. There is a version of this story where Gauff looks at the way she's feeling this week and decides to manage expectations. Decides to play it safe, protect the ranking points she already has, maybe make a quiet exit and save herself for Roland Garros. Nobody would have criticized her for that approach. In fact, it would have been the safe, sensible, professional thing to do. But champions don't think like that. Champions see a draw, they see an opportunity, they see a chance to win something meaningful, and they compete. Every single time. Even when sick. Even when the altitude is working against them. Even when their body would prefer to be anywhere else on earth other than a tennis court under the Madrid sun. Coco Gauff is 21 years old, and she is already building a legacy that is going to be talked about for a very long time. The U.S. Open title opened the door. The consistent performances across multiple surfaces proved it wasn't a fluke. The leadership she's shown on and off the court has established her as one of the most important and influential figures in tennis right now. And today, on a day when she wasn't feeling her best, she added another brick to that legacy. Another chapter to a story that is still very much being written. And if what happened in that round of 16 today is any indication, the chapters still to come are going to be absolutely worth watching. So if you haven't been following this Madrid Open closely, now is the time to pay attention. Because Coco Gauff is out there fighting through illness, grinding through matches point by point, and refusing to give an inch. And that is must-watch television, must-watch sport, must-watch tennis. The kind of stuff that reminds you why you fell in love with this game in the first place. That is going to do it for today's breakdown right here on Chatterbox. But before you go, we need you to do something for us. If you are feeling Coco Gauff's energy today, if this warrior performance fired you up the same way it fired us up, hit that like button right now and let us know. Drop a comment below and tell us. Do you think Gauff can push through the illness and go all the way in Madrid? Can she win this title feeling the way she's feeling? We want to hear your predictions, your takes, your thoughts. And if you are not already subscribed to Chatterbox, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and make sure you never miss a moment of the coverage, the breakdowns, the drama, and the stories that make tennis the greatest sport on the planet. We'll see you in the next one.